Okay, hello everybody. Wow. Um, Facebook changes their rules and their guidelines. I can't keep up. Anyway, so because I can't keep up, I wanted to make sure to come into this space and record for you the conversation that I really wanted to have. And I know that a lot of you messaged me and said, "Hey, I can't make it to show up live in the room, but I want to watch the replay." So here I am. My name is Trisha Parado. I am a recovery lifestyle enthusiast, a recovery lifestyle speaker, but I'm also a personal life coach and somebody who is very passionate about helping people move through some very uncomfortable and stifling situations in their life. So here I am, and something that's been very prevalent and I've noticed these days is comparison. So as I'm talking about comparison, you might be like, what do you mean? So let's talk about that, because it is an absolute fact that we compare our thoughts, we compare our feelings, we compare our beliefs, our bodies, our professionalism. We compare our parenting, our lifestyle, our wealth, our homes, our attention to detail, right? Like I could continue listing things over or on and on and on. Like I could go on and on forever about the things that we compare ourselves to. So a lot of the discussions that I've been having um, lately, especially now that we're in this transitional period, um, with our pandemic lives or our stay-at-home lives or our work from home lives, transitioning into this whole virtual networking and being connected in this space. We have people that are very leery of the transition to, going back to the office, this, that, and the other thing. So we have people that are sitting there, either gained weight, all the things, right? So I have a lot of conversations with people, and a lot of them look like, um, it looks like envy. It looks like, wow, I I'm really looking. I'm really looking at, and that was Miss Jiva still trying to to reach out. But anyway, it's I want what that social circle has over there. I want to have that in my life. Or it's I want to be as successful as I see that person. I want to have that body. I want to have that wealth. I want. And we're comparing what we do have to what we perceive that we don't have. And and oftentimes we're doing that without the true knowledge of what that person or that environment or that social circle or that whatever has. We're basing it off of just how we perceive it. And that's like the first step in realizing that it's just our perception. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves some very serious questions. But first, let's talk about this. Um, you know, am I as engaged socially as I'd like to be? Do I have the recreational um, things in my life that I would need to foster this adventurous lifestyle that I believe I want to have? Do I have the work experience that, or the skill sets, the knowledge, the training, the education to back those things that I feel like I want or wish I had, or say, oh, I could never be that? And do I have the supportive family that I see that person has? Do I have that social circle that really comes together and supports each other, and all of these kinds of things, right? So I want you to take a minute, and I wish that we were live, because this is it's definitely not a conversation for me to like just be having by myself. It's definitely one I wanted to have like live and in person. So please message me, put in the DM, like, hey, I want to have this conversation. Let's see if we can get a live conversation going and actually do this, right? Because it's so much more effective when we do. Anyway, so if you look and you say, what are those things that I see, right? And I think it's important that we pause here and while you're thinking about what are those top 3 to 5 things that you want that you do not think you have, but you see in other people. So while you're thinking about that, I want to bring up something else because it's a different side of this comparison. And it's really important. Think about your actions, your the way that you maneuver through social media, online networking groups, just watching media, etc. Think about in your head, what does that look like for you? Because we get onto social media and we see these posts or we see these feeds from people. And immediately we kind of go into this judgment comparison type stance. And this could be political, it could be religion, it could be just workout. I've seen people get on social media that are healthy living advocates come in and immediately start comparing their way to somebody else's way and judging either theirs against the other one or the other one against theirs. And depending upon your confidence level, you may be saying, my way is better. People get better results with mine over this one. Or you might be, wow, I wish I had all of those systems and things in place, but I've been doing it this way for years and it's worked well for me. Anyway, so this whole thing, we get on there and we're like, oh, and if you're watching this, you may be another coach, you may be an entrepreneur, you may be, again, a healthy living advocate, and you may be doing it in a different way than somebody else. Or you may just be a parent and you may be going, wow, looking at your parenting style versus somebody else's. So what I'm getting at here is how we are allowing ourselves to experience and digest the things that are coming in on social media, through media, whatever. If we're jumping straight into that judging stance where either our way is right or we're judging our way for not being as good as, either way isn't right. We're comparing. And what we need to realize is a couple things. One, the more we stay on things that irritate us, agitate us, annoy us, frustrate us, bring us down, make us feel bad about ourselves, or make us feel bad about other people, which by the way is a choice because nothing can make you feel anything, only you choose. But the more we look at those things, the more the algorithm is going to send us those things. And the more we're just going to keep dragging ourselves down or keeping ourselves in a irritated, agitated, annoyed, frustrated, depressed, anxious state because you're telling the algorithm that this is what you want to see. So really what we want to be doing is seeking out those things that help motivate us to realize how we want it to look, how we want it to feel, how we want it to be. So if you long to be an entrepreneur, you want to get into those places that are going to give you tips, tricks, tools, whatever. Not trying to figure out how somebody's doing it that you envy, because envy isn't the right way. Same with parenting. If you want to learn how to, say you feel like you're not as strong of a parent in a certain area, identify what that is, where that is, identify how you want it to be, and then go seek the steps to make it be that way. Everything, change only happens through motion. So we can sit there and we can wish and we can compare and we can wallow or, whatever, all we want. If we're not willing to say, this is how I perceive this thing that I'm comparing myself to. And usually it's I'm negatively assessing myself, and I'm positively evaluating this other thing, person, place, thing, group, whatever. And I want to be more like this. Well, you have to figure out, do I want it to look exactly like this, or what is it about this that I want? Do I want to perceive myself as the same as this? Because we can't be exactly like somebody else, right? So you have to know your why. Why do I want this? Where do I want to be for me? And what steps can I take to get me there? And so you may have to, go find out, who did this person learn from to find their steps, or does that person teach how they got where they were, and go ask them. So you have to know your how, you have to know your why, and you have to know your where you're going, right? So, and I kind of said that backwards, but where do you want to be? How do you want to see yourself? What do you want that to look like, feel like, be like? Because it can be. And I'm here to tell you, it can look, feel, be however you want it to. Now, on the flip side, for those things that you're judging other people more, they're more in the negative and you're in the right. It's not the case. And I'm going to use diets and body style and fitness as an example here, because it's my best example. Somebody comes to me and says, I want to be bikini ready by June, and say it's, February. I want to be bikini ready by June. And I'm going to look at them and say, well, we can go to the store right now. Target always has bathing suits. Like, you're bikini ready. Like, you have to define what is bikini ready, and what does that mean for you? What does that represent? What does it actually entail? And what's going to be the best steps to get you there? Now, I always tell people, let's throw all of that out the window, because, you want to do it healthy and you want to do it in the right fashion. But you have to know what your definition for each thing is. So what is your definition of success? What is your definition of good parenting? What is your definition of a beautiful home? What is your definition of professional success? What do these things? You have to be able to define each thing for yourself. Then you have to know, so now what your definition is. That's where I want to be. This is where I'm headed. This is where I am. How am I going to get there? So you have to be able to identify all of those steps. So let's talk about comparison. Back to comparison, because I keep talking about how you're going to get there. But so how do you stop that dialogue in your head? How do you stop that I don't measure up to, or they don't measure up to conversation? And I'm going to start you off very easily, right? Because the first thing that you want to do when you hear yourself judging, whether it be yourself or another, ask yourself, what am I comparing it to? And this is how I ask my clients, right? They'll say whatever they say, and I ask them, according to who? According to who is that right, wrong, or indifferent? And it generally comes back to themselves or somebody else. And so if it's coming from themselves, like, why is that person wrong? According to who? Why is their approach wrong? Why is their stance wrong? Why is their belief wrong? Right? You throw in religion, throw in politics. Why is the opposite of yours? What makes that wrong? And based on whose opinion? And when it's your opinion, you have to look inside, right? So you ask yourself, based on whose account. And then you have to say to yourself, what makes my way or their way more right than the other, or wrong in comparison to the other? And you have to be able to answer that. So my motto is, this is my life. It gets to look, feel, be however I want it to. So if I have that belief for myself, I have to give everybody else in the world the autonomy to have the same. Now, of course, there's some gray area, and of course, there's some, some things in there. That's why this is so much better when it's a live conversation. And and I apologize again for the fact that it is not. So you have to know what you're basing your stance on. Why am I comparing this? Why are you comparing this? If you're talking about, your body size, or the beauty of your home, or how right your social circle is, like, meaning, I hear this all the time. Okay. And I hear this from more than clients. I hear it from friends. I hear it from family members. I have no friends, and so they're comparing their life and their social life to other people's social lives. And so, I generally will ask, and this is a conversation my husband and I have all the time. And we talk about, gosh, like, we don't hang out with people. We have friends, but we don't hang out with people. So we don't have that same, social circle that a lot of people have. And so we talk about that, and it's, do we want that? We've come to this conclusion often that, what? No, we like our lives the way it is. We like getting together with friends when we get together with friends, and we like how frequently we get together with our friends. And we're okay when sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. Like, it's fine. We aren't longing for anything else, but when we bring it up, we always kind of have to visit that conversation. And I know a lot of other people do also. And it can be difficult, especially for women, because we see women that have these, big followings, and you just get onto social media. I'm cool with the fact that, depending upon which, social media networking thing that you're referring to, some I have, 5, 3, 2, 1, followers, or, and I'm fine with that. I genuinely don't follow people that I don't want to follow either. But we can get stuck in that comparison game. Like, oh, so-and-so has so many followers. They have 35,000 followers. They have 300,000 followers. Like, I want to be an influencer on Instagram. Why? Do you know your why? And why are you comparing yourself to somebody else? Right? And you don't know how they got there. And so if you truly want that, you have to be willing to do what it takes to get there. So I have a lot of people, they don't have the followers that they want. They don't have the social circle they want. They don't have the perceived friendships that they want. They don't have, but they're also not willing to do what it takes to get there. So we need to quit putting pressure on ourselves. So I want you to take some time for the next week and really look at your should statements. And what pressures you're putting on yourself when it comes to comparison. I should lose 50 pounds. Why? Says who? Is it for health reasons? Or is it, personal preference? Or is it, just the number you threw at it because you believe if you lose 50 pounds, you're going to have all the confidence in the world? Like, what is it? Why? Why do you want to lose 50 pounds? You have to know the why. You have to know where you want to be. You have to know why you want to be there. And then you have to figure out the how. And then you have to be willing to do the steps that's going to get you there. If you're not willing to do the steps and make the life changes or the habit changes or ditch habits altogether because they really are just nothing but self-induced pressure, and you have to be willing to be in motion. Sitting on the couch and talking about it's never going to make anything happen. Anyway, and if you're not willing to do those steps, ask yourself why. And then maybe there's a happy medium. But anyway, I wish, again, I've said this already, I wish that we were here live together. I wish that we were all here in the room together like we had planned, and we're not. So I'd like to invite you to do this, because it's really hard to have this as a non-conversation. Because I'd like to be walking through some scenarios or some examples with real life people, because once I ask you the where do you want to be, then I can ask you a series of questions, and then we can actually learn how to like start moving towards the results that we want, and know our motives and know our why, and remove the comparison and quit putting so much pressure on ourselves. So I'd like for you to, in the comments or in a DM, send me some of your very specific comparisons that that have popped into your head as I've been just chatting away here, making this recording. And let me know, where do you compare yourself? Is it the way you eat? Is it the way you talk, the way you dress? Is it your body size, your body shape? Is it your home? Is it your, position at work? What is it? What do you compare? Who do you compare yourself with? When do you compare yourself in a positive fashion and them in a negative? And when do you have yourself in the negative and everything else in a positive? Like, these are things we got to break it down. That's the other thing. You can't make it very broad. It has to be very specific categories: socially, developmentally, professionally, family, right? From a spiritual standpoint, whatever these categories are for you, you need to have the categories, and then you have to look in each category. How do I compare myself at work to others? How do I compare myself socially to others? How do I compare myself from an educational standpoint to others, right? We want to break these down so that we can really get to the root cause of why you're comparing yourself at all. And again, it can be positively or negatively. Anyway, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear some of these things so that we can effectively start moving through how you can get rid of this tired, wore out, old school way of approaching life. So that when you go onto social media, you're not judging, you're not comparing, you're choosing things that are going to positively impact your life. And you're also able to cognitively process those things, because we do have to listen to things that aren't positive. We do have to hear the news that's happening in the world. We have to see the injustices that are happening. We have to decide how that's going to fit in our life, and not just take it on as an additional stressor or a way to point our fingers and judge and compare, right? Like, I can't believe that person thinks that way. I can't believe they feel that way. I can't believe they believe that way. I can't believe that they did that. Right? What are we going to do about it? It just throwing shade or comparing. It's just not going to make any change. Social change isn't going to happen in a bubble or a vacuum. Social change is only going to happen with action. And so social change is not going to also not happen from the top down, from one person. Like, we need to put ourselves at the top. It's going to take a village. It's going to take each and every one of us, starting from inside, making some changes, and then just putting it out there, right? Like, we got to share it with our kids. We got to share it with our spouses. We got to share it with our family members. And then we got to share it in our communities, and then in our environments, in our cities, towns, counties, states, whatever. Like, that's the only way change is going to happen. And it has to be happening effectively in motion, not sitting on our couch complaining. None of that's going to work. So this whole comparing thing, it's just not going to work. It's not going to serve any of us, not as individual beings, not as family units, not as professional organizations, not as communities, environments, cities, states, counties, not as a nation, not as countries, not as an entire world. So anyway, I'm going to leave my sermon now. And I hope that, if nothing else, I've sparked you to at least start thinking about and identifying where you're comparing, where you're judging, where you're putting should statements on yourself. And this way we can move into having an actual real conversation about how we can drop it. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Hopefully next time we'll get to have a live conversation, and I will talk to you soon.